Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I do a weekly video on all sorts of things related to relationships and energy and family systems, partnerships, parent-child. And I've been doing more energetic coaching in the last 5 years, especially when I'm dealing with energy and patterns and sort of the invisible things, right? So currently I'm working with a couple of teens, a couple of adults, and several families that have young ones that are reacting to something that's unseen, and they're trying to figure out the tools. So I thought I would do a video on this just to sort of bring it to the surface. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe or like this or join this page, by all means do that so that you can stay on top of what we talk about each week. So I want to start with the quote that energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another, right? And so if energy can't be you can't make it go away, right? And you can't create it, but you can take it and harness it and shift it and bring it into another form. It's challenging to do because it's invisible. It can be felt. Sometimes it can be heard, especially in our sort of senses in our ears. And it can be known if you know what you're looking for, but it's sort of difficult to trace, right? So as an energy reader or someone who's a scanner, and that's something that I learned how to really understand, that's one of my gifts is I can watch things. And so first of all, energy readers, they're observant. They're highly observant. And they're multidimensional, which means that they can see things from a lot of different levels. And they have an intelligence where they're like, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. And then what happens is it's almost as if as the day just goes along through normal, they don't notice very much, but anything that sort of jumps up out of the ordinary, out of the normal, a ripple of a change of mood in a restaurant or a gathering or a classroom, a sudden shift in a parent's face. What an energy reader does is notice the cause and effect. Like, I don't know what just happened, but there was some clouding that went on in that face, and I'm not sure where that came from. So energy readers are curious. They're detectives. They have this intuitiveness, and they identify shifts. And they can't really tell you how they know it. They just know that they saw it. They felt it. They watched the ripple happen. So, I've been a scanner since I was about 5 years old. So I've been able to verbalize what it is I actually do, okay? So a couple of different things is that our systems, our energy field, our brain waves, our heart, which according to Heart Math Institute, the field is about 6 feet in either direction. What happens is that it reacts to energy. And we watch the reaction happen in the 3D form in that person in front of us, but we don't really understand what came in and affected them. So if you're empathic, it could be emotions. The emotions of somebody else in the room, the emotions of someone in the classroom, the teacher, the group can affect them, which is also clairsentient. Clairaudient is when, there's pitches, there's humming that goes up in the sound, or sounds will all of a sudden pick up and you can tell someone's anxious in the room. So there's something that you can hear, both not easy to identify to the average ear, or even something that the little subtleties that are not always picked up. And then there's that claircognizant, which is where something, you just know, like, I can't really tell you what happened, but everything changed in that movie theater at a certain time, or everything changed in that dining room at a certain time. We can't really tell how we know it, we just can read it. So we pick up on the environment that's physically around us. We also pick up on the collective, like something could be going on in a much larger level. And sometimes when some energy comes in, especially a lot of it at once, it tips us into overwhelm. So you see toddlers, you see younger children, you see teens that were absolutely fine one day, and the next day they're just really moody, or they're solemn, or they're sad, and you're trying to figure out what changed. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to look further into energy and how it has an effect on you or your child or your partner or the group that you're working with, and what were some of the influencers? You know, how do you look beyond the third dimensional room or space or even body and go, if there's something else going on, what would that be, right? So use your resources. And so I'm going to present several bizarre yet or I should say bizarre because we're not used to using them. Yet at the core, they help me every day with the things that I do in my coaching. So I'm going to start with the easiest and then start to move over, okay? So the very first thing I want to talk about is the moon. The moon affects the water on the planet. The planet is 72% water. Our bodies are 72% water. The tides go up and the tides go down. It would make sense that when the moon is new and it's almost all covered, that there's a little bit less or more, depending on your relationship with the moon, that it's going to affect you. As it gets brighter and as it gets fuller, it actually affects the human body. If we're going to go from the moon, then let's go to the next area, which has been an ancient studying for how we do seasons, how we do growth, how we plan wars, how we plan expansion, how we direct our buildings. Everything that we've done over the last 10, 20,000 years has been based on astrology, which is what are the main planets doing when they pull a certain way, when they interact with each other, when they square, when they're in an antagonistic relationship with the sun. We feel things. We talk a lot about Mercury retrograde. What does that mean? But being able to understand that the astrology of where the planets are and what's going on can make a difference in tensions, especially when we're looking at planets that can kind of cause friction or sadness or deep emotions that are coming up. All of us have kind of sort of come out of a really deep emotional state in the last week with this Scorpio full moon, so pay attention to that. Third is that pay attention to what happens on our earth, whether it's earthquakes, whether it's volcanoes, whether it's floods, something that's physically going, whether we can even feel it or think we can feel it, it has an effect on our little ones who are super in tuned, super aware of the earth. So, you know, sometimes it's kind of like, something's going on. I think I need to do my little scan of what's going on with the moon, what's going on with the planets, what's going on with Earth. And next, what's going on with the sun? When we have these major solar flares, which is when there's a burst out of the sun, we can mark it, we can measure it, and it will work, right? When one of those bursts comes out, we can measure the length of time before it hits our planet, and then we see agitation and reactivity in the human body in form. So being able to track these solar flares and go, oh, I think this thing's going to hit between 2 and 5 this afternoon, or between noon and noon in 24 hours, then we know that there's going to be some reason why there might be some severe agitation going on, right? Like, oh, wow, look at how this is showing up in our family system, in my body, okay? The next one, which is the one that I use all the time, which is the Schumann resonance. So the Schumann measures, it has different measuring spots all over the globe, and what it actually physically measures is the Earth's electromagnetic field. And so it measures that in hertz, and it starts with the 7.83, which is the normal Earth hertz, right, in our body hertz. And then it can go like when it goes lower, or when it can go all the way up to 100. And, I can't get 2 screens going on, but what I can do is show you real quickly that this is what the Schumann resonance looks like when it's just normal, right? Like there's little bumps, there's little energy things, right? And what I wanted to do, and it's so old school, and I apologize for it, but I didn't have a lot of time to set anything else up. And I wanted to show you what happens when the Schumann resonance goes off the charts. If you can see this white stuff here, what it does is it actually shows you that there's these bursts of energy. And when these bursts of energy come, they go all the way down to 30, 40, 50, 60 hertz, and they just blow us off the chart. And so there are times in the middle of the night when you're like, you wake up and you're thinking, I'm wide awake, I have energy coursing through my body, and I don't know what's going on. It's not menopause, it's not this, it's not that, I didn't have sugar, I didn't drink, you go through your old checklist, and then the next morning you get up and look at the Schumann and you're like, wow, I know exactly what happened, right? So the last piece outside of these, the Schumann resonance and the sun and the planets and whatnot is the collective. And if we look at the collective like it is the global energy field all the way around the earth, it's like, I like to think of it like the Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi out there, we know it makes our phones work, but we don't know exactly how. But what if that Wi-Fi held the energy of emotions or pain or struggling or grief or worry? And so when there's riots, when there's disasters, when there's fears, it makes sense to me that the vibration of the earth, the collective, is going to hold that. So these are the kinds of things to start looking around and go beyond the known to find out what else might be actually affecting this. So part of what I always do is I come up with tips and a couple of visuals. So what I thought I would do is show you what the Queen of Cups looks like, which is she's interacting with everything, right? This one comes out of the Sacred Rebels. She feels, she knows, everything sort of comes into her body and affects her, right? Here's another one from the Sacred Rebels, which I liked, which is going beyond the normal, which is how do you expand into believing and thinking and feeling something that's more than what is just directly in front of you. And one of the cards I've shown you several times, which comes out of the Osho deck, is what happens when you can turn off all of the collective energy and just tune into yourself, right? So tips. Number one, when you notice something is off, right? And there's high energy and you can't sleep or you can't focus, or there's low energy where you just get sad and upset, or there's unusual behavior that doesn't come there before. Open up your spidey sense and go like, what am I seeing? This is different, this is new, this is the same, but more exaggerated. Be very, very articulate about what is it that you're noticing. So the first thing is to notice, right? The second thing is to check the external factors, which is what might be going on. I have a couple of real quick astrology sites that show what's going on for the week. And I will put these sites in the comments so you can find them. What's going on with the solar flares, what's going on with Schumann, what's going on with any sort of global events. Check those external factors, number two. Number three, after you check the external factors and you're like, man, that was a huge burst of light that came through the Schumann resonance last night, then do your yes or no's. Use your muscle testing. Use these different systems that I've talked about in a previous video to go like, I gotta narrow this down. Is this part of what with the Schumann resonance? Oh, yes, okay. Is it affecting me? Yes. Is it affecting him? Her? Yes. Okay. Now I have a bigger perspective because again, it's invisible and we're learning how to use invisible tools, right? Number four, use calming treatments when there's higher energy going on. So what we've learned is that when something's happening, we want to learn how to bring our system down, right? We want to calm it down, slow down the pace. So we take baths, we drink more water. We take magnesium. I use Calm, which is just stirs up and goes into the drinks. I drink that at night when I need to sleep. You can take baths with magnesium in it. You can do lavender on your feet at night. You can put lavender or any other sort of aroma relaxer into a diffuser. But you want to talk softer. You want to be more gentle because the energy outside is so intense. You want to bring everything down into a quieter, softer place. Number five is to be compassionate. Go soft with your understanding and hold the boundaries, which is like, no, I'm not able to do anything with you today. I didn't sleep last night and there's a lot of energy going on and I'm just going to go real slow right now. So we hold our energies and we protect ourselves, right? We keep our boundaries of what we need and we're very compassionate because the last thing that we can do that is so unhelpful is to go into anger or reaction or impatience when somebody's triggered, when somebody's off, right? And then number 6, the last one for today is to get curious. Well, what else is going on? What do I know now that I didn't know before? And go beyond what I'm told. Learn how to become an invisible energy reader. I think it's the most important thing for our children, because our children's skill set, they're born with a much higher ability to read energy than we are as adults. So it's up to us to learn how to match. What is it that you're seeing? What is it that you're feeling? And to build from that. So again, I'll put the resources down in the comments on the page that you're on. And I'll see you next week. Have a good Sunday and a good rest of the week, and enjoy. Hopefully you'll be out there getting ready for first May week where the sun's out. Take care. Bye-bye.